Hey everyone, welcome to Quinn's Cars. Today we have a really special car and a really important car to car enthusiasts over time. It's the Dodge Challenger. This one being the 2020 Dodge Challenger RT. Now this model is important because it's a muscle car that started the American muscle performance movement along with Mustang at its time. Mustang being in the mid 60s, this one the Challenger starting in 1970. And one of the considerations when you're getting a muscle car, most people think that if you get a muscle car, you have to get a V8. This one being the RT, it does have a V8, but you could hypothetically go V6 if you wanted. Now, a lot of people get hate if you get a V6 muscle car, but in all honesty, if you were to get the SXT Challenger, you're looking at around 303 horsepower. If you get the RT, you're looking at around 370 to 375 horsepower. There are few colors that look better than black on a muscle car, in my opinion. Dodge calls this color pitch black, and it looks really, really clean on this Challenger. The large front splitter really gives an aggressive look to this muscle car, and then it has these really cool halo LED running lights. The inner ones turn into kind of an orange circle when you're using your turn signal, and then the outer ones have a projector beam that come out when you use your headlights. There are fog lights that are below, and then you have side marker lights on the sides next to the wheels here. You can see the RT badge in the front there, and it has this really mean retro stare. This is not a functional hood scoop. However, it does add a really nice flair to this vehicle, and with it being a V8, it's kind of something that can pass even though it's not a functional hood scoop. This RT model comes with 20-inch wheels, and they're finished in a low-gloss granite crystal is what Dodge calls this color. It looks really good with the black paint. The pony shape and that 1960s, 1970s retro look is followed throughout the whole side profile of this car. The rear, you can see these rectangular LED taillights. These taillights look really sinister, especially when it's dark out. The black car with these red bright beams shooting out the back looks really nice. And then these slant cut dual exhaust tips that are also rectangular look nice. It has a spoiler. It's nothing insane, but it's a nice respectable shape that adds to the back of this kind of boxy vehicle. I love this chrome little fuel door. It doesn't add anything really, it just is a very distinct thing that sticks out on the car. Again, the side profile having that pony shape really screams retro, but is bringing the muscle of 2020 into it. While I love the exterior of this car, the interior I'm not super sure of. When you get in, you see the door handles are made of kind of this metal looking plastic. It kind of has like silver paint, it's got plasticky buttons, it's got some leather on the side to rest your arm on, but it's got this low handle that's a little bit strangely placed, and then you got Alpine speakers, which actually do really help with the quality of the sound in this cabin. You can see a little Challenger writing over the AC vent on the right side, kind of a neat little Easter egg. And there's that shifter that's running through the 8-speed automatic transmission. You can move it over to the left and then manually shift up and down if you want. You can see your AC controls below, and then your sport mode that you can activate right there, as well as your volume and your tuning on the right. One of the coolest little retro to modern bits are these gauge dials here. You have the tachometer and the speedometer finished in this Very classic retro font with red and black, contrasting colors. The center screen actually adds quite a bit of information. You have trip info, messages, information, you have fuel economy, and then you have performance. This is where you can find lap times, top speed, 0 to 60, 0 to 100. It'll even tell you your G-force as you're driving, which is really going to be important if you want to take it on the track. The infotainment screen has something called Uconnect, which is like a black and orange, almost kind of Halloween-y look, but it does have a nice contrast and a nice setup. It would have been nice for it to be red and black to kind of fit with the theme of everything, but it's kind of cool because you have your media, you have your performance information, drive mode, launch control, sport mode, default mode, and in that sport mode, you can go in and you can change settings with the engine, with the paddles, with the traction control, and with the steering. And everyone's favorite part, this 2020 RT has a 5.7 liter HEMI V8 and pushes 375 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque in an 8-speed automatic transmission in a rear-wheel drive platform. It depends on how hard you drive this vehicle, of course, especially with this meant to be driven pretty harsh, but it can get anywhere from 15 to 23 miles per gallon, city, highway. The main perk of this vehicle, of course, being the torque and that V8 engine noise. It is a monster that wants to be unleashed. You feel that as soon as you're behind the wheel and as soon as you touch the pedal. I wouldn't say that it's a sensitive pedal, but I would say that with it being for a little over 400 pound-feet of torque, but 372 to 375 horsepower, it having that bit of torque that gives it a little bit more immediate throttle response is going to make it something that you want to get used to before you just slam on the pedal. We're going to stomp on it just a little bit. That V8 rumble is the reason for so much joy, not only in this country, but just for car enthusiasts in general. People absolutely love V8s. For a lot of people, when they consider an enthusiast cars, they're considering a V8 as that enthusiast car. I will say though, this is an extremely wide ride. Now, that doesn't matter so much when you're on highway roads like this, but you're definitely going to notice that when you're on small mountain roads, which there are quite a few in this area. It genuinely feels like on the smaller roads that you are overlapping your lane. Even without the wide body experience, you're overlapping your lane by a couple inches, 2 to 3 inches on either side. You're not, of course, but the dimensions of this car kind of give a strange illusion that you are. Something to consider too is the direct competitor to the Dodge Challenger is the Ford Mustang GT. I've had a Mustang before. I've actually had 2 Mustangs, and they don't necessarily feel that way. They feel a little bit smaller, a little bit more nimble, and while this car I think has a more dramatic look to it, and I've honestly preferred the look of the Challenger over the Mustang, when you do a one-to-one comparison of the 2020 Mustang GT and the 2020 Challenger RT, you kind of come to the conclusion that the power difference is definitely there. I mean, you're looking at, I believe it's a little over 460 horsepower for the GT Mustang, whereas this has 370. I mean, that's a 90 horsepower difference. Now, for the average person, they're not going to care about that. The average person stomping on the pedal in this car is going to have a really good time. despite that 90 horsepower. This thing has more of a straight line power feel than a handling type feel. And that's been a common theme with muscle cars in general for as long as I can remember. But when you turn it, it feels like it's turning and turning and turning. The performance is pretty awesome though. But once you stomp on that pedal, Dodge, especially with the Challenger and the Charger, they have kept the soul alive of the muscle car, and I think that's why the newest Charger was so controversial, because Dodge for a long time had resisted the movement of electrical, practical efficiency, and just went for the absolute craziest thing. I mean, the Demon, the Red Eye, these are all models that were made purely for the excitement and enjoyment of the driver. And that was it. I mean, it didn't make sense gas mileage wise, it didn't make sense insurance wise, it didn't make sense practicality wise, but it fed your soul. And I think that the Challenger, even with the RT, because seriously, if you're someone who is trying to just have fun on the daily as a daily driver, using more power than this is unrealistic. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to get a Hellcat and they want to commute to work in their Hellcat. And by all means, like, do that. But if you have fun in this car, you're going to get arrested in a Hellcat. This car has plenty of power, plenty of fun, little over 400 pound-feet of torque, 370 horsepower. When you stomp on it, it sounds like an absolute monster, and it has a menacing appearance even if you're not into muscle cars. You can appreciate the body lines of this car and the love that people have put into this car. I have always loved muscle cars. I mean, one of my first cars that I truly loved was my Mustang. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily a Ford person or a Mustang person. I will say, when you compare the numbers, the 2020 year for the Mustang versus the Challenger GT RT, direct comparison, you're looking at more power and more performance with the Mustang. And that's not my opinion, that's just the specs on paper. Now, whether or not you're going to enjoy a Mustang more just because it has more power, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think this has plenty of power to have as much fun as you could possibly have. I mean, it has specs that you can take this to a track and record lap times, go into track mode, use the paddle shifters and shift up and down if you want to. I had a lot of fun filming this car. This car is an event. I mean, when it goes, you got to make sure you know what you're doing. You got to make sure that you're going around corners properly, that your hands are on the wheel, that you're delivering the power band in the correct ratio as you're going. Understand the dimensions of this car as well. With it being such a wide car, even without the extended fenders and the wide body modifications that people put onto this car, it is still a very wide car. And if you are in an area with smaller roads, that's something to seriously consider. Thank you guys for watching. Tune in every Friday. I come out with a new video every Friday at around 5 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, I think is what it's technically called. And it's going to be content that is either car reviews, it's going to be car talks, or it's going to be car events. And if you're interested, as always, I have my merch shop linked down below, where I make these t-shirts myself with this handmade design. And I'd really appreciate any support from you guys. Thanks again, guys. All right, bye. I just can't deny giving me the best time. My body's shaking every time.